Crazy Asian sensations. There's no crazy. Asian sensations. Here we go.
Oh, I should bring the sticky note. Actually, you know what?
You can go grab one? I have sticky notes.
I just want to write down when we read out our email, which we never check.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what the password is.
Remember we set it up. We should have wrote it down somewhere.
It's somewhere in email.
I thought we made it something creative. So I'm wearing the hat for those of you on the video because I just moved the couch, and so too much sweat has made my hair get down.
It's not even that down.
So we'll put on a little bit later if I'm feeling it. Not
You're not feeling yourself.
Yeah. But I like the hat, Megan. But I think sometimes it makes my face look fat.
It actually, I'm not gonna lie to you, it does.
Yeah. So.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because it like cuts off half your forehead, so
Correct.
it just makes it look more squatty.
And I do have a fat face right now.
I mean,
and I am a heavy version of Sherm.
Yeah, that's what I said on my
Heavy
Instagram
Sherm.
story.
That's okay.
I was like, this is the heaviest that I've ever been.
That's
but
okay.
I mean, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. Hey, we all know what it needs to reduce it. So.
Yeah. It's just more about do you do it.
Yeah, I'd rather have that third plate of Chinese chow mein. Hello, everybody. Sherman here.
And Megan, and welcome back to the Asian Sensations podcast. Today we are going to really have it more of a open conversation, talking about. I've had a lot of revelations this week. I think it's a new leaf that is being turned, so we want to chit chat about that and kind of stuff that we've discussed this week so far.
And we think that you guys will enjoy this. So let's first hear a word from our sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, hopefully it wasn't like at the end. Yeah. Hopefully it is, because that'd be funny.
Intro to Megan's Revelations. Revelations.
I don't remember any Polish.
So, actually, you know what? I'll get this on the podcast. I'll ask you a question if we have time. You know what? I want to get a timer.
For?
So we can see how long it is without like looking down if we're just like talking.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Can you set it on your watch?
I can't. So. What time is it right now? So let's say if we get to 3:20, so that's like a half hour, then it'll just buzz. So you'll see me tap it. Sorry, that's maybe Chinese food. Okay, here we go. Today's Friday.
I still think that's super funny that I realized that I was wearing this shirt. And then I'm like, God, we're gonna record today. He's probably gonna record this live. And they're like, oh my gosh, this girl Megan doesn't own anything other than this blue shirt.
It's awesome. Eventually in the future we'll just edit over and make like an orange shirt.
I almost wore one like this that was pink. But it's not as like linen-y. It's like more starchy.
Oh, okay.
You know, like a heavier material.
It doesn't
feel as fun.
Yeah. Go for comfort. Okay, Megan, so you've had a lot of revelation this week. And so if anyone follows her on Instagram, by the way, you'll see not only in her stories, but also in her posts that she's just been feeling a lot. And some of it just has to do with the moon, and I know you're big into that. So,
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about kind of where some of the things, what you're thinking about right now, because I think this is really insightful where a lot of times people, we slowly change. We kind of come into our own, and sometimes we might find ourselves wanting more.
Yeah. So to kind of go off of the whole moon thing, so I'm big into like astrology and birth charts and the way the lunar moon works and whatnot. And so actually Monday it was a lunar eclipse in Capricorn. And Capricorn is known as being a very they're like very dedicated to their work. Like they work hard. They're like one of those like work hard, play hard in a sense. They'll sometimes are kind of known for overworking themselves and whatnot. And so I thought it was really interesting because I just it happened on Monday. I believe it was Monday. Yeah, Monday or Tuesday is when this like came into play. But I just it was Monday. So I went and worked out. Nope, it was Tuesday. So I went and worked out, and then I like got back from working out. I watched a training video on like for my network marketing, like how to better how to utilize your warm market, which I always think is a really good thing to learn. That's the one thing I really enjoy about network marketing is that it is pretty transferable at some point to all types of businesses, corporate, other different types of businesses that are, whether it's entrepreneurial and it's not like shampoo or something, all transferable, not everything, but parts of it. So that's what I like about network marketing and why I encourage everybody to at least try it out because you learn a lot of different lessons outside of just income. So I watched that and then I went and took a shower. And then for some reason, before I got into the shower, I sent my friend Anna a voice message. Or no, I sent her a text message and I said, I'm super inspired right now. I'm going to hop in the shower and then I'm going to send you a voice message when I get out. And she's like, okay, I'm super excited. It was a 4.5 minute recording of me talking. But I just like to do voice sometimes because I don't like to sit there and type out a really long message. And it's just different when you hear somebody's voice, right? You hear the excitement, all of that.
Absolutely.
And so I just like had tons of revelations about just where I'm going career-wise, what I want to do with my life, what's that next step. I have felt like since I stopped my wedding coordinating business that's something, I stopped it for a reason. I was still trying to find that reason. What was it? It was that kind of empty hole of like, okay, I feel like I need something else. And then I realized that it hit me, after having all these like weird revelations and whatnot, that's what it was. And so that's what all this week has been about is just, I think everything has been building up to kind of the aha moments that I've had. I've had a new aha moment every day.
Yeah.
And so where I'm at right now is really looking at all of my skills, all of the talents that I've had or have harbored in all of the roles, all of the things that I've done so far. And now it's leading towards, realizing that I am pretty good at marketing strategies, and really kind of helping others launch businesses of their own. And so that's kind of where I'm heading in thinking of starting something, whether it's a side hustle, full-time, whatever it is. I don't really put a label on it right now because you just never know, but just getting the wheels in motion.
So what's interesting is I know a few weeks back you said that you're not entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I think I said it on the podcast.
But what's interesting though is like you let go of one entrepreneurialism piece, and that was the wedding coordinating, the wedding planning, and all of a sudden, just naturally how you function, you're feeling like this pull to do more like business consulting, right?
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is there's no need to put a label on it like I'm an entrepreneur. Put that on your Instagram, right? It's that's how you're wired. You're drawn to running it yourself and doing it yourself. And also, as you had some of these revelations, has it only been about your side hustle, or has it also trickled in other parts of your life, like exercise, nutrition, education, your full-time gig?
Yeah. So it definitely has like transferred into the full-time job, just because you and I have had tons of conversations about how do we market better, and really trying to work with the corporate office to really see how we can make things work but still be compliant, because we work in a very compliant world. So trying to figure out how we can get with the times and market better, but still within the confines of the rules,
right?
But I think where I wish it would trickle over into fitness and nutrition. I definitely have like obviously eating healthier and all of that. And
well, I know you've been meal prepping this week, so that's been really good.
Yeah, so I've been meal prepping, had a couple of cheats here and there, but meal prepping,
we just call that living.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anything's cheating. So yeah, I mean, kind of sort of, it's just, I think it'll get there. But I think where I've had revelations, which has really propelled me and been an eye-opener, is really realizing that I am just like my father, in the sense of, he was a welder when he came, not when he came to America, because he did other things beforehand, but when like we got settled in, our hometown, that's what my dad did. He was a welder. And then he got into shrimping, because that was a huge market for especially Vietnamese Americans, is shrimping. So, my dad had his own shrimp boat, and I remember being, when I was little, we'd wake up, I was like 5, we'd wake up and at like 2 a.m, and we'd drive down and we'd go out on the boat, and then there'd be, shrimping out in the early dawn, and that was my childhood growing up. I remember sitting, like, I visually see it right now, me sitting on the edge. Luckily, I never fell off this boat, because I literally was on the edge of this boat. But sitting on the edge of the boat and, just like watching porpoises, like, and all of that, whatever. But then, anyways, long story short, my dad one day decided he just wanted to be his own business owner. Being a shrimper, I mean, yes, you own your own boat, but I mean, you're still working within, selling it to companies, all of that. It's still pretty kind of regulated. So my dad was like, I just want to be my own boss, like not have to worry about somebody else. And so he became a custom home builder, and he's been doing that for the last, I don't know, like 15 years or so. And he just did it, just one day he wanted to remodel our house, and then apparently according to my mom, which I have to ask my dad, was, the lady at the bank, I guess, that we had got the loan from, had brought the idea up of him just doing it, and then so he did. And then I sat and I reflected on that. I just had this conversation with my mom yesterday, and then I realized, like, late last night, early this morning, that that's my story. That's my story. That's my story on wedding coordinating. It was, I had done it for my ex-boyfriend's brother's wedding, and it just so happened that a bunch of people were just like, "Oh, are you the wedding coordinator?" And I just said, "No, but I'm going to be."
Yeah.
And then I did. I got back. The wedding was in September, and I launched my business in November.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of like crazy that way. And so I think also that's something that a lot of people don't realize is kind of your career path is somewhat, in a sense, sometimes determined on your environment and what you grow up in.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, your father wouldn't have been shrimp boating if he lived in Nebraska.
Yeah, so it's all about the environment, but I think also, like, I feel like certain things are like innate inside you that, like the entrepreneurial spirit, like not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
I had just talked to my friend yesterday who wants to start her own chiropractic office, and that's kind of the conversation that her and I had was, I said that I feel at this point I've attracted so many people that are like-minded, and that I think everybody, at first I said everybody, can do this. And I said, well, no, I think some people are meant to be employees. Some people are meant to be 9-to-5ers, go to work, be task-oriented, go home, not think about work, wake up, do it all over again. But then there's others, like I believe you and I are, where we think of things. And that was something that you pointed out the other day when I did actually like work out. And then I worked out, then I watched the training call, like I ate dinner and then I had a training call. And then you responded to my story and you were like, only an entrepreneur would do this.
Yes.
And I realized, and I was like, huh, you're right. Nobody else would do this.
Yep. No, and because they don't.
Yeah.
To your point, they like compartmentalizing their lives. Work is for work, home is for home, and they don't really intertwine.
Yeah.
What was interesting is you have said in the past that you're not marketing, you're not creative.
Yes.
But you are marketing, like you're a strategist.
Yeah.
Really, when it comes down to it.
And that's what I realized too, because I mean, I'm not creative. Like I can't even decorate my own apartment. Like I can't go into a store and like I don't have that interior design touch that I feel like every woman has. And then like all of my family, same thing on my mother's side, everybody has an eye for decor, but also oddly enough, from the men's side and the women, everybody on my mother's side can do floral designs.
Okay.
That was like, we used to go, because my family's Catholic, I would say that I'm more spiritual than I'm religious, in a sense. My mom's gonna hear this and she's like, what? But yeah, so But growing up,
there it is, Mom.
there it is, Mom. If you didn't already know. So growing up, there used to be this thing called Marian Day. So it was like a day dedicated, because Catholics, really turned to Mary, Mother Mary, and all of that. And so there was this thing called Marian Days, and it was pretty much like a church retreat for Vietnamese people in Carthage, Missouri, of all random places.
Yes.
So we would go and we'd get there, and it would be church every day, prayer sessions, all of that. And then we would, but more so it was just fellowship, right? And so there'd be everybody would camp, and it was really cool. I grew up, and it was always my favorite thing to do in the summer was go to Marian Days. But my family, we did all of the florals for this. So we would do huge, it was a huge stage, for the altar and all that. We would do all of the florals for that and for everything. And so that was my family's thing. I realized at a very young age, I do not have that eye for floral designs. I would try and do stuff because my family can literally just take any flower and put it together. And I can't. I just can't do it. It just doesn't work. I don't have that creative eye. And I think that's also the revelation that I've had this week was I have had friends tell me, I had a friend that wanted to start a pretty much like a bar, a lounge in Alabama. And he had said, when we get the deeds and all of this and we get this all started and we get the property, I want to hire you to do marketing. And I was like, why would you hire me? I don't do marketing.
Yep.
And then it's just everyone around me has said it, and I just can't see it because when I think marketing and PR in the sense of let's create ads, let's create flyers, let's do that creative side of marketing and websites and whatnot. But there's more to marketing than just the pretty flyers and the pretty ads.
Yeah. What it reminds me of is I'd recently seen it was an interview with Andy Krainak. He's the director of brand for Gary Vaynerchuk.
Mm-hmm.
So he first started with Gary. It was just Gary himself going all over the world really and speaking, but he wanted to create this personal brand, and it's now evolved into I think 15 or 21 people that man all this. And so he had made the comment that there's a significant difference between buying a Sony high definition camera and taking a photo versus being able to storytell.
Yeah.
And so that's really where I think you end up thinking of as you're okay, well, I don't know the angle that I should do, but how to storytell, the strategy. And so I think there's different skill sets. So he's creative, but he's not into the videography. He's not looking at the different angles or how should I mix this, what music should I be using. That's where D-Rock comes in, right? Mm-hmm. And so recognizing your friend obviously recognizes for you, it's sure, could you create a nice post and some language and some quotes or some images or videos with what they're doing? Sure, but he wants you for your expertise, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a significant difference. I'll pay someone, an hourly wage or a salary to create content.
Yeah.
But it's a much different, higher skill set to create strategy, right? So strategy is what pulls all the content underneath it.
Yeah.
It's the strategy that matters the most.
Yeah, and that's actually what him and I talked about today, because I'm somebody that likes to bring in people that are like-minded into my thoughts, not for validation, because I will still always do what I want, but it's always good to just get an outside perspective, just to see, am I seeing things as clearly as I think I am? And that was what he had said, was I was I've realized that I'm not the creative type when it comes to marketing. I'm not on the creative side of marketing, I'm more on the strategic side of marketing. And that's what and his response to that was, almost anybody can create a pretty flyer, but not everybody knows how to put it into the works, and that's what people lack.
Yep.
And then I was like, yeah,
It would literally be like somebody that's blogging that really should be vlogging, right? So
yes.
they're okay at writing things, but they're much better, have a greater presence on the video, on camera. And so I think that there's a lot of times the way that we view ourselves, we paint ourselves into kind of this box of, oh, this is who Megan is.
Yep.
When in reality, those on the outside go to you, Megan, and go, no, you're super strategic, especially on the marketing side. I see what you're doing. And the problem is I know from the context you and I live in, we're not we don't have 1 million followers, right?
Yeah.
You're listening to this podcast, and right now I think I've had 12 and Megan's had 9 people listen to this podcast from the last episode. And now again, We are grateful for every 21 of you.
Yes.
We love that you're taking the time to listen to this. Any moment that you give us. It's just that for us, that's not why we do this. There's literally no payments here. Any kind of sponsorships that we do have are going to be trickling in pennies on the dollar. It's purely because we have this voice and we just want to share it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we have all the answers. And so that's kind of why I thought it makes sense to just share this journey that you've had this week, because I think a lot of times we'll find ourselves at a certain spot and go, you know what, I need to make some different changes. So what's interesting though is this came off of a little bit, I can't remember when the conversation was, but you realize that you are tied in your full-time gig to someone else's vacation schedule.
Correct. And so that's where it started it. So, there's a family vacation that is coming up in next year. And then I realized that it's more time than I normally take off consecutively. And, as most jobs work, you accrue the time, the more you work, like every hour, every paycheck, you're getting a little bit more of that vacation time. And then I realized, the biggest revelation for me, which I think sometimes, mostly I would say Asian culture doesn't especially Asian Americans don't necessarily appreciate what their parents have done to get to America as much as other cultures, right?
Yep.
So like it's very huge in the Latino and Hispanic culture to appreciate it because it's in the news every day, right? Especially, Mexican Americans.
Yes.
That's the thing that's always in the news. And so it is very easy to forget when it's not in your face every day what your parents have done for you. And so this came about because this trip one of the stops is in Vietnam. So we're doing a Southeast Asia tour for 2 weeks. And one of the stops is in Vietnam. And my dad called me the other day, super excited that, I was going to get to go on this trip, even though I was an afterthought of why I was invited, but it's fine. Everything happens for a reason. But my dad was excited because he's like, actually, we're not going to go into the capital, which is Ho Chi Minh City, in the South. He was like, we're actually going to go to where he was like, we're going to take you to where mom and dad grew up. And at first I was like, okay, that's cool. Didn't really think about it. And then through, I live alone, so I spend a lot of time like in my thoughts and just kind of thinking over things, which I personally really enjoy. I like to step away. And it hit me that my parents haven't been back since they left during the Vietnam War. My mother was maybe 5, and it was at least 50 years ago. And that's crazy, and to think that I would potentially miss out on that if I don't have enough hours. I mean, or I'm still going to go because the trip's non-refundable, but I may not be getting paid.
Yep.
Or there's even that fear, right? You come back and maybe your job's not there. Not saying that that's the case, but you just never know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's happened to a lot of people as well. And so.
Or just to know that next November to 2020, no vacation time.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of the statement that was made was, well, you're going to be jonesing for a vacation, since you're taking it in February, the beginning of the year, you're going to be like really, really wanting a vacation later on. And then it just kind of hit me, I don't, at this point in my life, I think it's time for a change in a sense, or just kind of thinking of, maybe this isn't the way. Maybe I want to be a little bit more in control of, I'm not trying to be that person that's on a perpetual vacation and then suddenly I turn around and my savings is drained. But you want to be able to experience those moments without feeling as though somebody else is controlling how much vacation time you're worth or even how much income you're worth.
And that's a really important thing to understand, is that just because you enjoy vacationing doesn't mean that you want to all of a sudden throw it all away and become a
beach bum.
Instagram vacationer.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because there's a lot of people that they see that, they're like, oh, I love working out, so let me see if I can then monetize my exercise.
Correct.
Why? Just because you enjoy exercise doesn't mean that you necessarily want to coach other people and then sell them on your coaching to them. Especially if you're using another program that isn't your creation, right? So if you're using like a P90X, no offense to any Beachbody listeners, but that's not even your own creation. So you're selling somebody else's anyway.
Correct.
I think.
But if anybody wants to sponsor me to travel, I'm all for it.
Totally down. So that's really, I think it's really insightful that, you know, we talked a little bit about then you have this plan A, so to speak, and that's what you're doing right now in the 8 to 5 that we're in. And I think it's always healthy, and I will use that word always, to have a plan B or a plan C. If there's something that's on your peripheral, there's maybe even a pipe dream that you're working on, like the guy that was in our office today was telling us, so right now he works with his brother, they work at a wealth management firm, and he does the marketing side, but his passion truly is to become an operator of a Chick-fil-A. I
was like, it's a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that is that that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And he's just taking this step away to see if that's truly what he wants. And I find it to be a very mature approach to what you want to do. Now, some people would say, well, then just go at it. I think for him, for whatever reason, in his situations in life, he's first wanted to say, you know what, let me help bro, and let me walk away from this and see, what do I need to know? What am I missing? And do I really, really like what I'm thinking of doing?
Yeah.
Or am I just looking at the first thing, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's where, from an employer standpoint, people shouldn't be threatened by your employees wanting more.
Yeah.
And I think it was Gary that had said that I had seen that he had posted this, or maybe it was somebody else that's similar to Gary Vee, that I just can't think of their name right now. But it really was that. It was like, if your employees don't have dreams, you know, or you don't care about their dreams, like, that's how you're gonna lose the employees. And that's where, you know, from this standpoint, like, anybody that is, say you are a employer or you are a boss, and you're just like, well, I don't want any of my employees to think like you guys and think, you know, have a plan B or a plan C, you're really just hurting yourself in the end. Because I feel like if you stifle those dreams and you crush it, then they're just eventually gonna leave.
Right, and I think you get less out of them.
Yeah, you get way less.
I'd rather you be, you know, running, you know, Monet on the side, being out there, because people are also going to know they don't detach you and your full-time gig with your part-time gig.
Exactly.
And so you're still just a brand ambassador for and telling our story, even if it's not directly saying, hey, come to this company as your full-time gig.
Yeah. And then, you know, and then also, I don't think that there's any one right way to chase your dreams. Just kind of, you know, like you were saying, for whatever reason, he wanted to try something else and see if it called him back, which I think is awesome. You know, and his story is not going to be the same as my story, or not be the same as your story. And everybody hits their revelations, or they have seasons in life. And, you know, my season of turning a new leaf might happen at 27, and, you know, yours might happen at, you know, well, yours are already happened. That's how you got into, you know, where we are. But in financial servicing, but, you know, it could be that your season is at 50. You know, there's never one right way to find your purpose in life.
Yeah. And that's a tough thing, I think, to think about, is that I think sometimes coming out of college, there's this expectation that you got to figure it all out.
Yep.
And there isn't that. We're constantly learning new things. So I'd say that even, you know, some of the most successful men and women out there are still learning, are still looking at ways to make whatever they started better. I know Bill and Melinda Gates have, especially Bill, because he loved building Microsoft, but he said that working in the foundation has been a far more rewarding career and job and impact than anything that he did at Microsoft. And now almost every computer in the world, I think it's like 90% run on Microsoft.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, his impact to the world is already seen, but what he's doing in the foundation is just more impactful for him. And so I think sometimes it's okay to have new revelations and to find, I want more, and I'm going to do more, and I'm going to take these different steps to get more out of my life.
Yeah, and that kind of makes me think of this. I heard, if anybody knows who Lizzo is, she's like a new artist that really promotes like body positivity, living your life. She's, you know, kind of, she's not like a typical, you know, Instagram model or like a skinny, you know, stick or anything like that. I mean, she's a real woman, and something that I'd seen her say on on a show was she had said, like just like our cells regenerate, every 21 days, so can you, and that was really, to me, that was kind of powerful, and actually had put it into a Instagram caption. She used different words, and I used the words that she used, but we'll keep it a little PG here.
Yep.
But it is very true, and I think also very similar to like the phases of the moon. Everybody goes through different phases of their life, and at the end of the day, you're still just finding yourself, whatever point that is that you do find yourself. You can find yourself at 24, you can find yourself at 84. But I think as long as you do find yourself and you don't hinder yourself from finding that, because I think a lot of people do in their own self-limiting beliefs, and their BS belief system. BS stands for belief systems. Not that they have BS belief systems. But like I think so many times like our belief systems or just the thoughts that we feed ourselves and whatnot is what stops us from reaching our full potential.
And that's I think the pursuit is to identify what like kind of the cliche, like what lights your soul on fire, like what gets you excited to get out of the bed in the day and get moving. And for some people it might be to be the best mom. We were talking to one of our coworkers and how proud she feels that she was able to help her son get to where he is now in starting out his career. And so that's just really exciting for her because it took a lot of sacrifice and a lot of effort and a lot of time and effort to get that young man to where she was hoping he'd get. And career wise, he chose something that she doesn't want. Like if you were to ask her, she would be like, no, I don't want you to do that career. But she's in support of what is kind of inspiring him. And so I think sometimes we might hold ourselves back thinking that others think that we shouldn't do that, right? Like so for example, I want to be a country artist, but I start thinking, well, nobody Asian sings country. And so maybe I start thinking about what others are thinking so I don't do something. And so that's just, it's shame on me. It's not only my limiting beliefs, I'm limiting myself based on the perception of what I think others might be thinking.
And honestly, and something that I always say is honestly, people are not thinking about you as much as you think they are.
Yes.
I think unless they are your significant other, I don't wake up and go to sleep thinking about my best friend. Sorry, Diane, I love you, but I don't. That's just not what you do. You really only do that for maybe like children and like true like either it's like a family member that you're taking care of, like a grandfather or a grandparent, or like your significant other. Those are kind of the only people that you think of, on a consistent basis. But in reality, all of those people that you really think that, are going to judge you aren't thinking of you at all.
That's very true. So we would love to hear from you.